Welcome Pisces to your in-depth weekly horoscope for week commencing the 4th of September for the Sun or the Ascendant. This week begins with two major pieces of news. Venus ends a 6-week retrograde on Monday in your 6th house. The 6th house in terms of relationships is that everyday part of our existence where acts of thoughtfulness, support around the domestic load, divvying up the tasks and chores fairly between us. That's the type of thing that Venus in the 6th house asks us to grapple with. And over that 6-week period, since the 23rd of July, if you haven't been very happy with the other person's contribution, it may have been an issue. But just as much, maybe the issue has been at work, because the 6th house is very much about our colleagues, our professional relationships. Because you can be very giving, if you feel that that natural generosity of spirit has been rather taken for granted, there could be a little bit of resentment that has built up during that time. So as Venus goes forwards, I feel that you can feel more outward about asserting what you want from the situation. And that's going to go on through to the 9th of October. And that will be a peak point, a climax point, that if things aren't set to a more satisfactory level, you will find your voice in a more assertive way as Venus moves into your opposite sign, but goes opposite Saturn in your sign. But back to this week, your traditional ruler of Jupiter on Monday goes into a retrograde, which will last through to the end of this year. Jupiter in the 3rd house. So what we've got here is the 3rd house, where you've had Uranus full time since March 2019. It's very much about our everyday interactions. It's anything to do with technology, social media, can be our relationships with neighbours, with siblings. And it's also where we can be more quick thinking. So Jupiter slowing down in this area, and Jupiter, especially in its rulership of your sign, very much to do with faith, spirituality, philosophies. I feel that you may rethink some of your belief systems between now and the end of the year, which is when Jupiter ends its retrograde on the 31st of December. So sometimes the belief systems we develop are often mainly invested in us when we're very young, but the world is changing at such a rapid pace. If it perhaps is appropriate for you to have a rethink about some of your beliefs and outlook, this retrograde would be a fine time to visit that. But if you are thinking about buying a new mode of transport, I think it is important not to rush the process with Jupiter retrograde. Or if you're thinking about some new technology, again, do your research. Jupiter very much about knowledge through its rulership of Sagittarius. Now, on Monday, Mercury, the planet of communication, which has been retracing its steps from the 23rd of August in your sector of relating, forges a stunning alliance with Jupiter. So just because Jupiter goes retrograde and Mercury is in a retrograde, don't believe this week can't bring some offerings, because it can. But it is all about feeling that there's an equilibrium between the give and the get in your relationships. So if there's someone who's very good at listening to what you have to say, is enthusiastic about your ideas, and understands the value that you can bring, you'll get over that Venus 6th house influence fine. And in fact, there can be a real accord that's created between you, which can strengthen as this week goes on. Not least, we have the conjunction between Mercury and the Sun on Wednesday, Mercury Cazimi, as it's known in traditional astrology. And the opportunity is sharpening up your listening skills. If something has been a struggle to understand where someone's coming from, or you've just misunderstood each other in some way, clarity can be created at this point. But there is on Wednesday a quarter moon, and this occurs in the most tender part of your scope, the 4th house, squaring up to the Sun in your sector of relating. I think it's possible that someone immediately around you could be a family member, it could be a partner, someone you're fond of may seem a little bit out of sorts, and you could find yourself in a very supportive role, listening to where they're coming from and providing some good advice. But equally, there may be two people you're close to who are not seeing eye to eye, and you could find yourself in the middle trying to referee the tension. But generally, because the Sun then goes on to link with Jupiter so incredibly well as this week draws to a close, with the exact point on Friday, if there is something that you're trying to bring to a conclusion around an agreement, you can crack it at this point. Think back to when Mercury was last in retrograde in the sign of Taurus. That was in May. And if something is unresolved from then, it could get resolved this week for sure. Now, what about, you may ask, if I meet someone for the first time this week? Mercury retrograde, whether it's a business contact, a business potential client, whether it's to do with a job offer, whether it's to do with a romantic opportunity. Do I put this off because Mercury is retrograde? In my humble opinion, no, because the angle between Mercury and Jupiter, between Mercury and the Sun and Jupiter provides enormous opportunity. As ever, with retrogrades, things are slowed down, but the energy of the planets involved are amplified. So Jupiter, for example, in the sign of Taurus, is very realistic in a way it's not through its rulership of Sagittarius, where it often can have such a larger than life approach to things that sometimes it can be overconfident. Or perhaps in your sign it can amplify sensitivity that comes from your co-ruler Neptune to the point that that can be a little overwhelming. So what we have in the sign of Taurus is it's grounded. This is an earth position, so it's just helping to shape the expectations that Jupiter has. Because Mercury's in its home sign of Virgo, the second of its two home signs after Gemini, it's much better to have a Mercury retrograde in Virgo than it is in another sign which is not influenced by it, or where Mercury may be in a debilitated position, such as if it was retrograde in Pisces or Sagittarius. So see this as an opportunity for clarity and faith and hope. But as ever with retrogrades, it is all about making sure the details, particularly with the Virgo energy here, to make sure the details are clear. And, if you're stepping forwards in a situation, say a business partnership, or you're moving into a flat with someone, why not sketch out an outline agreement that you both know, you can exchange it, sign it off, put it on your mobile phone, so you both know the terms of reference. That's a constructive way to step forwards. So within the framework of this week, there is so much dynamism for you to go for, and so much excitement, I feel, to try and improve your relationships. It may be that you may need to be a bit more detached, a bit less emotional about where other people are coming from. Seventh house energy will enable you to do that. It will enable you to bring a more rational approach. The practicality of the earth rulership of Virgo, very helpful, along with the alliances between Mercury and the Sun and your ruler Jupiter in the sign of Taurus, where it's also earth, but your sector of everyday thought and conversation. So look forward to this week, Pisces, and I think that something that has felt a bit out of kilter with Venus's retrograde can be corrected, but it does require collaboration and cooperation on both sides. And if you're not getting it from the other side, what the seventh house energy enables you to do is to set your boundary clearly about what you will or won't accept. Now, I'd just like to remind you that you can watch your year 2024 deep dive forecast by clicking on the link beneath this video. And also, if you want to take advantage of my very special opportunity to order your year 2024 personal forecast now, based on your unique birth data, no two charts are the same, and you can get 30% off and your personal character analysis or life roadmap to gain a more intimate understanding of your life patterns. Please see the link beneath this video too. Thank you.